Hey guys, how you doing? Hopefully you're doing okay. I'm going to read through the article here pretty much in full. It is pretty long, so it's going to go through quite a bit of details. Perhaps I should give you a trigger warning. This is a very grim topic. It involves the murder of an 8-month-old baby boy at the hands of the father, the scumbag that you see here, Cameron Gamage. The mother, Layla Grace Pearson, is also facing some charges in relation to the boy's death, but less severe. Seemingly, Cameron Gamage is the culprit that really caused the death of the 8-month-old baby. We're going to go through the details in just a moment. If you do appreciate the coverage of this topic, please do like, comment, subscribe, share the video as you see fit. The parents of an 8-month-old baby in Texas are both behind bars after their infant son died with a litany of head injuries earlier this week. Cameron Gamage and Layla Grace Pearson were both taken into custody on Tuesday and charged with felonies in connection with their son's untimely death. We're not told of their son's name, only that he was 8 months of age. This scumbag here is 23 years of age. He's the father, and he has admitted to having extreme anger issues. Later in the articles, it tells us that in recent times, in recent months, he has killed several dogs by strangulation. Several. We don't know exactly how many, but several means more than two. And apparently he admitted to trying to dispose of the bodies so that he wouldn't get into trouble for them. But he admits to having extreme anger issues. He's accused of inflicting the fatal wounds on the 8-month-old boy, his own son. He faces 1 count of injury to a child with intent to cause serious bodily injury, which is a first-degree felony punishable by up to life in prison. Let's cut to the chase here. Let's hope that that is exactly what this scumbag gets. Life in prison. We're going to go through the details in a moment, but my speculation, my opinion, which I'm entitled to have, he's 100% guilty. He had a fit of anger, if not fits, plural, and he purposefully harmed, injured his own 8-month-old son. We'll go through those details in a moment. I mean, he has his own cock and bull story. I don't buy it. Authorities say that the scumbag father also acknowledged that he recently strangled 2 dogs to death. Later in the article, it says several dogs. So perhaps it's 2, perhaps it's more than 2. The mother, Layla Grace Pearson, is facing 1 count of criminal negligence injury to a child, which is punishable by up to 2 years in prison. Criminal negligence injury to a child. I don't really know what that means or what that is referring to. I'm guessing, I could be entirely wrong, but I'm guessing that that's more in regards to her not taking the baby boy to the hospital for medical attention following the injuries that he sustained at the scumbag father's hands. That's my guess. It could be wrong, but there's certainly no details within the article of the mother having knowingly, purposefully inflicted any injuries on the child herself. Okay, so according to a affidavit from the Odessa Police Department, officers responded to the parents' home at approximately 12:52 p.m. on Tuesday regarding a call for medical assistance. The caller told the dispatcher, the 911 dispatcher, that there was an infant in the apartment who was unconscious and not breathing. First responders found the couple's son deceased in the apartment. Here's a quote. This is from the affidavit written by the police. The deceased infant had heavy bruising, swelling to the left side of his face and head. There were also multiple smaller bruises along the top of the deceased infant's cranium. Heavy bruising, swelling to the left side of his face and head. Okay, and we're going to learn a little bit more about that in a moment. The mother said that she fed the baby at approximately 5 a.m. that morning. Then she went back to sleep. She woke up at around noon, and the 8-month baby boy, her own son, was not breathing. She frantically tried to awake the husband, not the husband, the father, but said that the father seemed uncaring. He didn't really care that the child wasn't breathing. It took several minutes for the father to wake up, to get up, and to help. And even then, he still seemed uncaring, according to the mother. The father did call 911 after being told to do so by the mother. And the father also began CPR in accordance with the 911 dispatcher's instructions. But tragically, the 8-month-old baby boy was unable to be revived. At which point the father became apologetic towards the mother and told her that he hoped she wasn't mad at him. So seemingly the father was, in a roundabout kind of way, admitting guilt, admitting that he had done something wrong, which did or perhaps could have led to the 8 months baby boy's death. The mother has told police that the father has extreme anger issues and recently killed several dogs by strangulation. During the investigation, police noted that the father remained unemotional and seemed to lack care about the incident throughout contact. Wasn't a big problem for him. His son died. It's not a big problem. In a follow-up interview, the father allegedly told investigators that he last saw his son alive between 5:30 a.m. and 6 a.m., so about half an hour to an hour after the mother fed the baby boy and then went to bed. So he last saw his son alive between 5:30 a.m. and 6 a.m. that morning, before he also went back to bed. He initially came up with a cock and bull story, saying that the baby suffered his injuries after hitting his head on a hard portion of the interior of the crib. Load of bollocks, pardon my French. But he too admitted to having extreme anger issues and saying that he was struggling with the crying baby. He admitted to strangling 2 dogs to death and trying to dispose of their bodies to avoid getting in trouble. So he's showing essentially that he's a psychopath. I'm not able to diagnose him, but to me, that's pretty psychopathic to go around strangling dogs. He knows he's done the wrong thing. He knows that he might get into trouble for doing that, so he tries to hide the fact that that is what he's done. He's showing that he's extremely dangerous. Now, this point, this section here that we're going to go through really does, in my mind, tell us how the 8-month-old sustained the injuries that they did. The father admitted that 3 days prior to his son's death, he woke up to his son crying at approximately 10 p.m. The father went to go play with the baby and began tossing the infant in the air and then catching him. A nice, fun game. But he noted that he was frustrated that the baby still wouldn't stop crying. The father claimed that he accidentally dropped the 8-month baby boy after the 4th toss, which caused the infant to land on his left side. Apparently, the boy hit the floor hard. The father says that the bruising and the swelling on the infant's face and head began after that, but he didn't want to tell the mother because he didn't want to get into trouble. The father recognized that the infant was behaving differently for the next couple of days. And as soon as the baby died, his initial thought that it was something that he did. It was this act, throwing him in the air, accidentally dropping the boy. Was it an accident? Did he do that on purpose? Did he throw the boy high in the air and let him fall? Perhaps from 10 foot in the air, 12 foot in the air, onto the ground. The mother admitted that she noticed the injuries to her son and that the baby became more fussy in the days that followed, but the mother didn't seek medical attention because she thought the boy was teething. Is that realistic or not? Is that realistic? Is that feasible, that the mother felt that the 8-month-old boy who suddenly had become fussy, changed its behavior, and had sustained bruising and swelling to the face and head? Is it feasible that she believed that was just teething? It isn't really, is it? It's not really feasible. So with the charges that the mother has, again, according to the information that we have within this article, I'm thinking that it's in regards to failing to act, to having noticed the injury sustained, but failing to act upon it, failing to take the child to receive medical attention. So she's facing 1 count of criminal negligence injury to a child, which is punishable by up to 2 years in prison. Okay, and there's a little bit more to the situation, or in regards to the father. He's also been charged with 1 count of sexual assault against a child. However, that is not related to the 8-month-old baby boy. That's in relation to an offence which occurred allegedly, between 2019 and 2020, which involved a 15-year-old victim. So that's all the information that we have in regards to that. But seemingly that's another charge that has been laid against the scumbag father. Okay, so there is a bond of $350,000 for the father, so I think that's a sizable bond. It could be higher. It probably should be higher, but still, it's a sizable bond. The mother has a very low bond at $5,000. If someone pays $500, she's out back on the streets. Are we happy with that? She's got a low charge. She's been given a bit of a pass, hasn't she? Does she deserve to be given that pass? I mean, seemingly she was completely uninvolved with any abuse against the child. Uninvolved. And seemingly, according to what we're told within this article, which of course will never going to be the full truth, but she seems somewhat blinded to any level of abuse. However, having said that, she is aware that the father is extremely angry, shows extreme anger, and I believe she's aware. Yes, she is aware that he strangled 2 or more dogs recently. So she covered up for him there. She enabled him. She was also aware that her 8-month-old baby boy had bruises and swelling to the face and head. Yet, she didn't take the baby boy to receive medical attention. I mean, I don't know what to make of this. I mean, what I am making of it at this moment in time is that, of course, naturally, the mother is not culpable in the same extent that the father is. The father is an absolute scumbag, psychopath, in my estimation, based on my speculation, which could be wrong, of course. An absolute evil piece of shit that deserves the death penalty. This happened in Texas. Quite sure you have the death penalty. Although his charges, it mentions that he may face up to life in prison. He's a scumbag. He is the person that caused his son's injuries. The mother, I think she's getting away with things too lightly. She's aware of his anger. She was aware of the injury sustained by the baby. Okay, she's not a doctor. She wasn't aware of the severity of those injuries, sure. But she was aware that the baby was injured. Enough to have received medical attention which she failed to get. I think she's a little bit more culpable than these charges allow. That's my take on it. I'm going to wrap things up here. We don't know the boy's name, of course, but prayers to this lost soul. And unfortunately, we just have to chalk this up to being yet another example of a child, a baby, being killed by a parent.